At the end of statutory deductions, you discover that these local governments are not viable. And therefore, we devise a procedure or a method where we coup some resources from the viable local governments and then pull them into the joint account to supplement, some of the deficits in these 5 local governments. And at the end of the day, they have either 2 million, 3 million, or 5 million excess. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to even pay their salaries. But that is just by the way. We know what is happening in the country, and we have heard the cries of those at the grassroots, not at the local government levels. They are not inclined towards having the state joint local government account, so be it.
Now, you spoke about the Attorney General and the Minister of Justice being 2 different offices. Now, what would be the advantage of that to the nation?
Well, the advantage of that to the nation is that, you see, you go as a minister and sit with either the president, or as a commissioner you sit with the governors. Certain decisions will be taken, or certain prosecutions will be in the courts, awaiting Ministry of Justice advice. There might be interest either in the cabinet or from the powers that be, or from the Oga at the top, as it is being said. Now, as a minister in the cabinet, sitting with the president, it will be very difficult for you not to be influenced by certain directives or instructions. But, and more so, you don't even have a tenure. In the proposal, we are proposing a fixed and determinable tenure for the Attorney General, not for the minister. For the minister, he is at the whims and caprices of the president. But for the Attorney General, as a thorough professional who has certain years of experience and as a practicing legal practitioner, he will be completely devoid of any political influence. And therefore, if there are charges of corruption or allegations of corruption or criminal offenses being perpetrated by any person in the country, the Attorney General will not be afraid of prosecuting such an individual, because he doesn't owe his own allegiance to any cabinet meeting. He doesn't owe his own allegiance, and he's not answerable to any person at all, be it the president at the federal level or the governor at the state level. So this is one of the advantages of separating the office of the Attorney General and then that of Minister of Justice. Minister of Justice will take political decisions, which are susceptible to subjectivity. But an Attorney General will work within the purview of the law, and he is answerable to the law and to the law and nothing but the law.
But who appoints the Attorney General?
Well, there are procedures laid down for the appointment of the Attorney General. And the National Judicial Council will be part of it, so that nobody, it is a kind of, it will be a kind of advertisement. You will go with your CV, you will be subjected to rigorous interview and selection process. And at the end of the day, whoever emerges as the Attorney General, whether at the federal or the state level, will be a person of impeccable character. It will be a person who is versatile in that field, and therefore he will not be afraid of any person at all in the country.
Okay, we should bring the discussion to the studio now, because I'm sure that Bisi Adegbuyi here has something to say about the separation of the office of the Attorney General and the Minister of Justice.
Thank you. I think we are missing the point here, because we're talking about issues that are totally unrelated to the welfare of Nigerian people. Amendment of the Constitution is supposed to look at the problems militating or buffeting the Nigerian state. Insecurity in the land, corruption, humongous cost of governance. And we're talking about separation of the Office of Attorney General and Minister of Justice.
Maybe with a view to this also helping the fight against corruption.
It's got nothing to do with it.
Might do.
If you want a responsible Attorney General, you got to devise a political system that will produce one for you, which is parliamentary system of government. We're chasing shadows. And with stuff like this, I don't know, there appears to be no light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay, let's look at it from this perspective. If you have an Attorney General who does not owe his position to the President or to the Governor, he is in a position where he is, to a large extent, independent enough to be able to prosecute a Speaker of the House of Rep or Senate or a member of the Senate or member of the House or anyone. Should that be the case? And that means that prosecution will lead to a situation where what we call impunity and not being brought to justice by members of the political elite could become a thing of the past.
That's why you need an Attorney General who would have contested election in his constituency and would have won. He owes his office to the people who voted him.
Election?
Let me disambiguate because it's a technical area of the law that you have to be very careful about.
Yeah.
What you are concerned about is the independent mindedness of the AG. Not who will not succumb to the whims and caprices of the president. And therefore, I'm saying that under a parliamentary system of government, an Attorney General is somebody who would have been elected by his constituents, not appointed by the President of Nigeria, and therefore not answerable to him. That is what you have under a parliamentary system of government.
He has to toe the party line.
No.
The chairman of the party will still let him know that you will not contest the second term if you don't do this, if you don't do that. If you don't comply with the party rules, we have seen people suspended.
Have you seen any political party who is out to do things against the wishes of the people?
Do we live in Nigeria?
Are we seeing political parties who are doing things to please the people?
For goodness sake, that is the fundamental of democracy. In 4 years' time, if a political party who has been in power has failed abysmally to ensure that the welfare of the people is the central theme of its government, then you vote that government out. Okay, and that is why it is critical for you to have democracy properly so-called. Not voodoo democracy that we have in Nigeria, where a party has failed abysmally in office and yet
it's
still in power. Those are the challenges.
Okay, let's ask Biodun. Biodun, what is your thoughts on this? Because what we're hearing on the one side from Abuja and what we're hearing from the studio, they're two...
Variants.
Yes.
Yes, I think the amendment or alteration which the House of Reps embarked on is not holistic, contrary to what they're making people to believe. In the first instance, yes, Bisi is quite right. The country is concerned about the independent-mindedness of the Minister of Justice / Attorney General. But how do you ensure that when cases only get to court after investigation by the Nigerian Police Force? The Nigerian Police Force itself is subject to political control. So, and the Attorney General does not investigate cases. And no case can go to court without investigation. So, in the first instance, they have forgotten about the Nigerian Police Force, that you need to make that force, totally independent so that they can investigate cases and bring cases to court, devoid of political interference. Then also, they've also forgotten the aspect relating to the security services. For instance, we had a very recent example in the case of Lighton Yerinde, where the SSS came out with a different report and produced some culprits, and the Nigerian Police Force also investigated, came out with a different report and produced a different set of culprits. So it's right from that, it's clear that the case cannot go to court because anybody will be
have two
acquitted.
sets of criminals
Two sets of criminals for the same offense.